All right, let's get rolling. Tailgate Talk. Of course, Tailgate Talk brought to you by friends at Buck Rub Outfitters. You can check them out off of Silverdale Road in Pewaukee or online, buckrubarchery.com. If you want to follow us on socials, it is at On the Tailgates. It's Ritter and Tasker. Wags out this week, but it's okay that Wags is gone because we're actually joined this week by a special guest all the way from north of the border, where we just were actually not all that long ago doing some fishing. Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. He was the first or second Canadian to ever win a blue trophy on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Jeff Gustafson, a.k.a. Gussy, a.k.a. what is the other nickname I've heard? Snow Leopard. I mean, what's the preferred name, Gussy?
Yeah, Gussy's fine. Yeah, where were you guys fishing up in Canada?
We were like the Miles Bay area, did a lot of fishing in Miles Bay and stuff like that. We were actually staying with Ballard's Black Island. We go up there, I host a trip and bring a bunch of people every year and go and fish and just have a blast slaying some big smallmouth and, stupid walleyes.
Did you catch some smallies in Miles Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was slamming a really good, they were like just setting up on points. It was weird. They were sitting on like rock points. They'd be mixed in with walleyes.
Really, huh? Cool. Yeah, I've actually, I live up at Lake of the Woods for anyone that doesn't know. So that's where the boys are talking about. And I've been to Miles Bay 3 or 4 times, and I've never really, I live on the north end of the lake, so I'm like a $300 gas bill away from that. But I have gone down there several times and caught them good around other areas down in that part of the lake. But I've never really had a great day in Miles Bay, so that's interesting. Lots of walleyes, muskies, but I've never done awesome for bass.
It's funny you mentioned the gas bill. We actually, while we were out there, we were having a slow afternoon one day, and one of the guys, Gary, runs a resort, when we were fishing with him, he goes, "Hey, we should at this point just run to Kenora and grab a pizza." And I'm like, "Yeah, a gas bill. Okay, let's do it."
Yeah.
Be a $500 pizza. No.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, what is it? And it's probably from southern to northern part of Lake of the Woods. It's probably a 3 to 4 hour drive. I mean, that's quite a haul on the water.
So by water you could make it a little bit quicker than that, but the price of gas, right? So from north to south, the lake's about 65 or 70 miles from Kenora, say to the mouth of the Rainy River. But obviously, you're not driving across Lake of the Woods in a straight line. There's a million islands and channels, and but so we have a big tournament out of Kenora every year, the KBI, and a couple times, 6-7 years ago, I actually went and fished in that southern part of the lake. That's kind of been where it's been going down, more often than not over the last 10 years, and an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes running, not wide open, but at a pretty good clip, 55 miles an hour maybe. And you can make it. It's not that it's outrageously far, but yeah, just the price of gas up there is what's the outrageous part of it. You better make sure you got a good spot and you're going to catch some fish.
Did they change the rules on that too? Did they change something about that you're not allowed to fish in the Rainy River anymore for that tournament?
They took the Rainy River out of play. It was getting one in there every year, and it was just it's a far ride, and it's the guys that kind of found it and that uncovered it. Basically, they got to win the tournament several times. There's a couple teams that were that figured it out, and so they got their moment. They took it out of play though for the tournament. So for the betterment of the tournament, it was the right thing to do, kind of, because you really couldn't compete. As huge as the lake is, the size of the fish that they're catching down there, you couldn't really compete on the lake over 3 days.
Mentioned you being one of only 3 current Bassmaster Elite Series anglers from Canada, soon to be 4. Coop Gallant, who just qualified, and it'd be cool to have another Canadian in there. You mentioned that. Is there a huge bass scene outside of, I think there's is there maybe 4 or 5 major tournaments in kind of your neck of the woods as far as bass fishing goes?
We're pretty lucky up here. We have our season's short. The season's open year round, but it's catch and release only until July 1st. So we can fish in the spring, but there's no tournaments. You can't keep them. So from July through September or into early October, there's a tournament almost every weekend that you want to fish. If you wanted to fish them, within 2.5 to 4 hours of Kenora, basically. But 4 or 5 big ones, where we're fishing for between 10 and 20 grand. And then the rest of them, the entry fees are pretty much all four or $500 or more. So you're fishing for some pretty good money. I mean, any given weekend, I mean, it's 4 or 5 grand is sort of on the low end of what you could win. So we're lucky in that regard. We've got some good tournaments. They're mostly community run events. So the payouts are, 100% or more, pretty good payouts and pretty good competition. I mean, it's small towns up here, and everything, but, there's a lot of good anglers and, I've for sure got a few buddies that could do pretty well if they got out on the road and were doing it. But I'm lucky. I grew up, fishing these tournaments from a young age. We have grass, clear water, rivers, dirty water. And I think I know I've heard Chris and Corey sort of say the same thing in the past. We're, you get to see a lot of different situations. For me, going down south, we have no shad up here. So a lot of those southern reservoirs, the bass revolve around what the shad are doing. So that was the learning curve a little bit there. And then just where I have issues is when places flood or water draw, weird stuff like that. Usually that's no good for me. But it's you learn the hard way on all that kind of stuff a couple times, and then you hopefully smarten up. So this past year was probably my best year that I've ever had consistency wise. But
I was going to say, congrats on that. Obviously making the classic.
Yeah, no, made the classic. That's the goal. It's a lot harder to do than you think, and you gotta catch some fish to be part of that. So it's going to be exciting. It's in Knoxville, where obviously last year I had a great tournament, won a blue trophy. So it's going to be exciting to get back there again, and I'm going to be able to push hard on trying to figure out what those smallmouths are doing.
I was going to ask, you think you're going to be able to repeat, going down there and do what you did? Because you were working something a completely different, you had the juice, more than what other guys seemed to have during that tournament.
Yeah, no, I actually this week I've been, we're getting near the end of the season up here, so I've been doing some cleanup and stuff in my garage, and I have a little TV out there, so I've been watching the live Bass Live days from that event. I hadn't watched them yet, and it was pretty cool. I found the mother load of smallmouths. They were kind of in deeper water. Was able to use the Demiki rig or moping technique that I'm done forever at home to catch them. So it was just kind of the way it all came together, and I found those fish on the last day of practice, and prior to finding them, I think I'd only caught 3 fish the whole practice. It was not good. It was going to be a bad derby, So it was crazy. It's crazy how things kind of work out sometimes.
Do you put a lot of your stock, Gussy, into practice? You mentioned you only caught 3 during practice, or do you really just kind of feel like the biggest part of when you're out there and competing is just rolling with the punches and adjusting on the fly what's happening?
Yeah, you got to be able to do that, and that's where fishing those elite events or pro level events where we only get 3 days to practice. I live too far away, so very rarely do I ever get to pre-practice or anything like that. But I've been doing it for 10 years now, so you've seen a lot of the different lakes and situations. But yeah, there's definitely, you got to have an ability to make decisions on the fly during the event and make good calls. That's a huge part of it. I mean, the coverage of these events is so good now, and you watch a lot of these guys, and that's the biggest difference between a regular weekend angler and Patrick Walters or some of these guys that are just really good. They just, you can't fall in love with spots or, if you go into a tournament I caught a 3-pounder over here on a popper, I caught a 2.5-pounder over here on a drop shot, and you just start running around to different spots trying to repeat where you caught one in practice. That's never going to work out good. Very rarely. You got to just kind of learn from each fish catch, and then usually in the event expand on new water and try and put a program or a pattern together. Sometimes you just find a good area, and that's awesome when that happens. But usually it's putting a program together and then adjusting accordingly however the weather is during the competition days. So
without being able to pre-fish, when do you start kind of prepping or planning for basically when does your tournament start? Because I feel there's always the work before actually showing up at a lake too.
Yeah, this will surprise you, but like I don't do a ton of stuff pre-tournament. I'll definitely watch some of the old TV shows, read a little bit of stuff online, but I'm not like a crazy person about it, studying maps or really anything. Like I'll get out there and launch the boat the first morning in practice and just start fishing, and mostly based on the conditions. A lot of the events are going to be in the spring, so you're around some phase of the spawn often. And then, up north when we get smallmouth fishing, like if the weather's sunny and nice and beautiful, I'm probably going to push fishing shallow a lot harder than I would if it was, cloudy and hard to see and cool. Then you're going to want to probably fish a little bit deeper, but just a lot of general rules and go make decisions on the fly. And a lot of the, over the years we travel and stay with a lot of the guys, and I think I could say like Seth and Chris and Corey and most of these guys are kind of the same program.
I assume you fished with Chris and Corey before, right? You're talking about the Johnston brothers.
Yeah.
Is their deck of their boat always as messy as it is every time I see it on Bass Live? Like, I have anxiety staring at them. I'm like, you are going to kick rods in or fall in yourself sometimes.
Every time these events happen on the weekend, we come back, and when we're doing our show, Ritter's like, I don't know if you saw this, but that would just stress me out so bad.
Well, and Chris is worst for sure, but yeah, he'll just like behind him, yeah, it's just a mishmash of
Right.
No, their trucks are like that, back and inside. Their bedroom will be like that for the week. I mean, yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, it seems to work for what those guys have done for years and years. I'd love to hear, Shakur this year when he finally won that event at St. Lawrence, kind of, making the stab. But you came and took our money to being a guy from, Green Bay, born and raised, and fishing, Sturgeon Bay and all that all my life. I've always known of those guys, of what they've just, I mean, it was like, you forget about it. You may as well just sign everything over to if they were fishing it, it's like, you may as well just give it to them.
Yeah, no, they're incredible Great Lakes, smallmouth fishing. And especially if they can fish sort of shallow, that's where they really are strong. But like you put those guys on the Great Lakes anywhere, and they're going to be pretty hard to beat.
And do you prefer to deep fishing or shallow fishing? Because personally myself, I hate bed tournaments and I hate bed fishing. To me, it's boring. It's not fun. And
well, it's weird because up north we're sort of like ingrained with bed fishing's unethical, and let them do their thing, and then you got all summer to. Whereas like in the south, when bed season's happening, like that's when you go fishing, right? It's just it's sort of funny. So I guess, for me, I don't love it. I'm not going to say I'm the best at it or anything, but I do know that like when that's happening, you definitely want to be probably taking advantage of it. But I've had a few tournaments over the years where I've like made a top 10 or had a good event fishing out offshore when there are a lot of fish on the beds. And that's going to like get everyone's attention for the most part. So sometimes like it'll open up more offshore stuff maybe you can take advantage of. You just kind of like really got to be efficient and keep this. But often when the bed thing is happening, you got to be probably partaking in that.
Ritter did not want to have anything to do with that in his tournament that he fished this year. And he's like, man, see, I could have taken the easy way out. Just fish the beds. But I wanted to do it my way. I had a game plan. And that's just, that's what you got to do when you get out there and you start thinking about how you want to fish, like you said, going offshore. And, it's what you're used to and it's what you like and what you feel comfortable with. And
it was Sturgeon Bay. So I actually fished the lakeside, and I was north. Kayak fishing, by the way, kayak tournament. Yeah. And cool. So it was like that right pre-spawn, and my first thought was, okay, I can get them staged and starting to move in. Secret Time will say I fished the Mink River, and I fished into the Mink River, want to fish outside the Mink. Well, like the day before the tournament, there was a huge storm came. There's like tornadoes. It stirred everything up. The water became so dirty. It was chocolate milk disgusting. And any fish that were starting to work in immediately disappeared from the mouth and just hit beds. And they were crushed on beds, and I couldn't do it. That was not what I was game planned for. And there was like two other guys in their same area that they all had like every fish pinned on beds. I'm like, well, now I'm toast. So what am I going to do? And I did that. I'm going to fish my way, and well, it didn't work out so well. I had top 20, but it still wasn't what I wanted to do up there.
And that's, I mean, yeah, I've done the same thing many times, and that's where you kind of gotta like learn the hard way a little bit, you know. But again, it's just you don't want to go into every tournament when there's some fish on beds, like just fully committed to that either, because you could get a dark day, raining, windy, and then you can't see them. Well, they're going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder to be efficient and catch them. So then, you know, your plan probably would have worked. But like if 3 days in advance it's going to be flat and calm, and you know you're going to be able to see, then you probably want to like put a few more of your eggs in that basket. But
what would you say was the biggest hurdle, you know, being someone from Canada coming into the States for, you know, fishing and, you know, kind of really putting your nose in it, saying I'm absolutely going to do it? What would you say was the biggest hurdle for you?
I mean, for me, I grew up a regular guy. The cost. I mean, I was really lucky. I had a friend from Minnesota that I'd guided a few times fishing and hunting that had the means to help me out and got me going. And then once I kind of got into that, I started on the FLW tour. Once I got into that, it was a lot of surviving those first few years. And I did good enough. I didn't light it up. I didn't make the cup, you know, for 3 or 4 years. But like I was probably cashing checks in, you know, a little over half the tournaments maybe, and had my entries and a lot of my expenses covered. So I was making some money, and I was just able to keep doing it. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of the regular guys. And I hate that part of what we do, but there's a lot of expense in it. And I mean, you definitely got to be able to do the social media, do, you know, whatever you need to do to keep your sponsors happy. But like you gotta catch fish too. So whether you want to be a tournament angler or guide, I mean, fish. That's the biggest advice that I kind of give everybody. And don't just fish on your home lake where you know you can go to the spots where you know you can catch them all the time. Like when I go fishing around home, I hardly ever go to like places where I know I can catch them. I'm always looking for the next thing or something new, and that's how you get better. And you know, just time on the water. That's a huge part of it. But the biggest hurdle for me was just catching. I got lucky and caught a couple breaks, got going with it, and have been able to keep at it.
Yeah.
You have anything to add there, Tasker?
No.
Oh, I thought you looked puzzled for a second there.
I mean, that's so cool, though. I mean, what a great way to just get into it. Obviously, you know, like you said, just a normal guy. I mean, you think about. I know that Ritter's starting to talk to some people about sponsorships and just doing some different things. And it's like getting a big break, you know, and just having somebody to believe in you and obviously to be able to help you get up on your feet. And I mean, look what you've done with it. You know, I mean, that's pretty cool.
No, it's just like in anything in life, you know, it's sometimes just like knowing the right person, goes a long way. And then the other thing, because, you know, I get a lot of questions from people about sponsorship and stuff like that. And like in fishing, like the last companies that you should be, you know, if you're getting after it and you're going to start fishing some Toyota Series or Opens or BF, whatever it is, think outside of fishing. If you want to get like, you know, real help, you probably want to be, because like all the fishing companies get hammered by people every day. Their budgets are all, you know, taken. So it's hard. And you know, especially like if you're just like a tournament angler, you know, because there's so many other ways that these guys are spending their money now, their marketing money, and you kind of gotta be doing pretty good in the tournament scene to start like getting real money and help from like within the fishing industry. That'll come, but you know, but if you're like getting after it and want to get started, you know, think about I was lucky like with guiding and stuff. I've met a lot of people that, you know, have been able to kind of help me out, but that's a big part of it for sure.
You know, that's a great point that you bring up, and that's I've heard someone else say that somewhere too, and that's exactly it, of thinking outside the box, of not going after the same places and people. You know, I mean, I look at Caleb Kufal. He's from our neck of the woods, just 10 minutes down the road. He's actually got like a local auto dealership in the southeast Wisconsin area. That's his main sponsor on his jersey. And it's I remember seeing it and I was like, oh, I never thought of it. Like, there's all these local things, and I think that there's a lot of local anglers that are trying to break in or get fishing that don't consider that. They just, see the pros, guys like you, and all the names on your jersey, and it's like, oh, that's who I have to go after. And it's like, no, those people, they're so hard to break into. Yeah, it is. And I was really lucky. Like, I just turned 40, but when I was like 13 or 14 years old, I was writing letters to Shimano and Apple and all these companies. And so I got my foot in the door at a young age. When I was 15 or 16, they'd send me a hat and a shirt and a rod. But just sort of started a relationship and grew it. And a lot of these companies, I've been with forever. Like, I'm really lucky with the fishing sponsors that I have. I'm sort of covered for most categories, but like most of them, it's been, a 15 plus year relationship. Or I've like with Z-Man, that's been since I sort of got on the Elite Series 4 years now, but just had used a lot of their stuff for a long time. Knew some of the guys at Z-Man; they'd help me out with some baits here and there, and that one just was a really good fit. But Northland Tackle, Lund, those have been a long time, and it's been I've been very lucky. They're also very northern companies there with Northland, Lund. Yeah. You don't see many guys running Lunds in major tournament series. No, but so we have the boat that I've been running the last year is this 2075 Pro V Bass. It's a pretty sweet rig and very bass boaty. A little bit slower, but also a lot better in big water, rough water. So I've been, it's been a good rig, and you're starting to see a lot more of them sort of pop up all over the place. But boat speed, that's one of the changes you've made recently too, wasn't it? Switching over to lithium batteries versus has everybody made that switch now, or are there still people using conventional not many, I don't think, but I never did until this past year. X2, I've been running these X2 batteries the last few years, and they came out with some lithium. So in my boat, my trolling motor batteries are just in front of the console in the middle. So it's a nice out of the way spot, but it was quite a bit of weight. Like, their AGM batteries are awesome, but they're heavy. And so I switched to the lithium, and it made my boat run a lot better. And then also, a couple miles an hour faster, but just got the bow up a lot better. And, it made a big difference. You could just feel it. But if all your batteries are in the back, when you take weight out of the back of the boat, usually, and even in the fiberglass, it's not usually going to make your boat faster. You're often better to have, some weight in the back, and your boat's going to run a little bit faster. So just something to keep in mind. Because I know lots of people get them thinking I'm taking 100 pounds out of my boat. It's going to be a lot quicker. And if it's all directly out of the back, sometimes that's not the case. I think it probably helps get out of the hole a little faster, having more weight in the back. Yeah, maybe. But I think on your top end, it just allows that bow to get up a little bit higher, and that's it. But for me, most of the anglers that I fish against, top end speed's really not that important. I want to have a better hole shot than I do top end speed, and that's gonna my boat's gonna be better in big water if I have a good hole shot. Some of that stuff's more important. I don't, very often, really that's not a big consideration. You mentioned before, getting your start guiding and stuff. Are you still guiding at all, or? Yeah, I do. I probably did 15 days this year, but quite a few donated trips for, any variety of causes. And then, I have a handful of regular people that I've taken for years that still try and get out. And then, every once in a while I get a message from someone on a Monday asking if I had any free days this week. And, Wednesday's open, so I'll go do a day here and there. But yeah, I don't love doing 5 or 6 days in a row. It's just, there's a lot, I'm just pretty busy. So right. That makes me grumpy usually if I'm doing too many days in a row, Now, I was popping on your website too, looking around still too. It mentioned with fishing, are you still guiding whitetail, or was that just for a little while, and wolf hunts? I haven't done,
haven't done it for a while, for like probably since like pre-COVID, but and our deer situation up here is pretty tough right now, but like I started doing it in 2005 and from then until like 2011 or 12, like our deer hunting was top notch, like good as anywhere in Canada. Maybe, like maybe not quite as good as like Saskatchewan and the Peak, but like really good. And we're at the very north end of the range here, and we have these bad winters, and then when the deer numbers got really high, the wolf numbers got really high. So just we had a combination of a lot of hunting pressure as well, and everything just kind of collapsed. So you can still go out around here and like find a deer to hunt, but it'll get good again at some point. Like the genetics are here. The habitat, I mean, there's tons of, remote land, and I did a lot of my hunting and the guiding. Like I would access a lot of my stuff by boat. So, I mean, most of these deer had never even seen people before. It wasn't like, but now it's like the farther away from the road or town or the more remote you get, the worse the deer seem to be.
Yeah, I've even seen them swimming from island to island. Up there, both bears and deer swimming island to island all over Lake of the Woods.
They're like really good swimmers. It's crazy. I guess their hair is hollow, so they'll float pretty good.
Yeah, it helps with their buoyancy.
But like I've seen them swim like 2 miles just across a big stretch. Like,
isn't that crazy? Yeah, because you just think they've got their hoofs, and that's not a very good propeller, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, my brother lives on the Mississippi in the southwest corner of the state, and what was it? It was right before I started at iHeart, so it must have been 2018, I think. They do a muzzleloader trip where they take a bunch of boats out and they just run through all the islands out there. Yeah. And when I heard that, I was like, I guess I didn't even really know that deer were doing that, but they see it constantly, and it's not very far. I mean, it's maybe, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 yards. So it's not like they're going that far, but he's like, you would not believe the deer population that live out on the islands. And then they can either just walk back when the river when there's frozen water out there, or they'll just swim back whenever they've had their fill and there's nothing for them to eat anymore.
When it was like really good around here, like we'd hunt from stands and stuff, but like if we had a bad weather day, or something there, often we would go and do like a big group together and do some drives, and we have tons of islands and points, and when they're actually like in the rut, those bucks a lot of times would push does out on the tips of the points or on small little islands. Like I've seen some giant deer come off like small little 1 acre islands before. It's
wow,
pretty crazy.
Really cornering them, not allowing them to get off and take off anywhere.
No. They're shifty, man. Like you get them, you do that. Like most of them, more than half of them will get by you on these drives or circle back. They're smart critters. It's not as easy as you think, but.
All right. So fishing on the Bassmaster Elite Series, is there? I mean, it seems like everybody's kind of tight and gets along well, but do you have like an arch nemesis? And I mean like that one person that you just like to beat every time. Like there's got to be one guy that just feels a little bit sweeter when you place better than them.
Yeah, Corey Johnston for sure. Like the guy that I like to beat the most. But I'm careful because like I used to chirp at him lots and like cock off to him, and every time I would eat my words. I just never say it anymore, really say anything to him, but that's my guy. There's a couple guys that I get along with just about everybody. There's a couple guys that I don't love that I want to beat, but no, I mean, mostly everyone kind of gets along, but yeah, Corey for sure. And probably if you polled all the anglers, he would be one of the top guys, I bet.
I could see that. Like, and now going back, with the Classic being in Knoxville and where you're going to be, how angry you think he would be if you could win a Classic before he even wins an event?
Yeah, no, he's got to be hating it. And I mean, he's going to win one, but he's been close a lot of times. And yeah, it's hard to win. They are hard to win. But yeah, if I managed to pull that off, there would definitely be some chirping going on.
What do you think would eat him more? You winning a classic or Coop winning a trophy before he wins one?
Ooh. Probably me winning the class.
Oh, I love that.
That's funny.
Like, I mean, we all like Coop and we're pulling for him and stuff. So, and like, he's super good too. I'm probably thinking he's going to, have a Shakira like performance here in his rookie season. I bet, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I really stumbled into, it was like 2 years ago, just actually finding him on YouTube and really got into like his story. And I'm like, this is a cool kid. I like what he's doing. And I mean, the fact that he's been like self-filming all that stuff, it's like super, as a guy that self-films too, it's impressive what he's able. I'm like, damn, man. And you're still catching him? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's impressive. And regular guy and just, everyone's going to love him. He's very likable and good at what he's doing.
Do you ever feel the pressure? I mentioned like filming of having to do so much of that stuff. Like, do you feel like that's kind of becoming just as big of a part of being in, the outdoors world at all?
Yeah, it is. And I'm not that good at like doing it myself for the editing part of it. So it's, it is. The stress never stops really from that angle. And then also from just having results in the tournaments. I mean, it's not hard to fall behind in the, in the points. And as we've seen the last couple of years, like you're going to get kicked out if you don't catch fish. So the pressure is always kind of there, and that's just part of it. And like, if you have a good event or a bad event, like the highs are high and the lows are low. We've all heard that a lot of times in the sport, but like you just kind of got to be even keel. Like when I weigh in, it's that day's over when I walk off the stage, and you're not going to usually see me like at home back at the house pouting or, and the same when I have a good day, it's usually just as easy to go out the next day and have a toughie too. So you just kind of attack every day and try and get your job done.
Coming off all that pressure in the grind, how do you relax? Like what do you do in, the off season, if there even is such thing as an off season?
Well, so we finished the elite season at the end of August, and I've been fishing. I fished a tournament like 5 weekends in a row, kind of from like early September into early October. So that was busy. A few guide days in between, a few like filming days, sponsor stuff in between. So it was a busy, real whirlwind fall. Typically now I would go into like some hunting mode a little bit. And when I was guiding, I mean, that was very consuming as well, but a little bit, the last few years, it's been sort of nice downtime. I'm actually going to Australia next week with Carl Gustafson, and we're fishing a couple barramundi tournaments over there. So that's sort of their, most popular fish that they have. And
I've seen those things. They get huge.
Yeah.
Like I think I saw a picture. I think it was Carl on his Instagram, like holding one of those things. And I'm like, what is
God, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, like we're talking like 25 to 50 pound fish to like, do good in these tournaments. So, and they're like they'll break your lures and tear your hooks off, like they're tough. So, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to hook into one. And get to see kind of like Australia a lot. We're going to be kind of backcountry where we're fishing, and to get to do that with Carl and get the real experience will be pretty awesome. And then my wife and I are doing like 10 days of sort of vacation, Great Barrier Reef and some of the stuff around there.
Well, that's great to be able to tie it up together. So I'm assuming like you guys all hang. Does she hang with Carl's wife and everything too?
Yeah. So he's one of my best friends that I've made through fishing. In the last couple of years, she's got a pretty flexible job, so she's been able to travel to most of the tournaments with me. That makes life a lot easier for us and for me especially. But I'm grateful that she does it. But yeah, she's made friends with. There's probably like 25, 30 of the anglers. They're like girlfriends or wives travel as well to all the tournaments. So I think most of the girls get along pretty good, and yeah, her and Kayla get along good, and yeah, she's made friends with a few of the other gals as well.
That's cool to have that support system, just knowing how big of a grind it is to get through things and, survive an entire season. Going into next year, is there any tournaments that you've kind of circled ahead on that Bassmaster Elite Series that you're either looking forward to or you're dreading?
Well, I mean, we're getting 3 up north smallmouth tournaments at probably the 3 best places: the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, Lake Champlain, love that place, and then Lake St. Clair. I don't have the best track record on St. Clair, but I'm due to got the Mega Live now. I fished the last one we had a few years ago. It was kind of like when everyone was just sort of getting live scope, learning how to use it, and like if you didn't have it there, it was no good.
I thought I remember that. That was definitely one of the haves versus have-nots. It was you could tell who had live imaging and who didn't, because that was the top 10 or not,
Yeah, that was the most crazy tournament. Like, I had guys fishing around me from Arkansas or Texas or whatever. Like, I probably caught more smallmouths in one day, at Sturgeon Bay than these guys have in their life, and I'm just getting worked. And so yeah, even playing field now, and I like fishing that place, so I'm excited for that. Toughies, obviously, we're going to the Sabine River in June. That's going to be hot, fairly tough fishing. We were there last year, not this past season, but in 2021, and in practice, like, I caught some nice fish. I caught fish. The problem was it doesn't fish that big. So like in the tournament day, you kind of had like, say, 5 areas, and you had to pick one. And, if you tried to move around, like, you'd go to the next one, and there was 5 boats all, it had already been kind of picked over. So that was sort of probably the most challenging part there. But, tidal, I don't have a great track record on that. So that's the one that's sort of the toughie maybe. But, yeah, it's going to be it's a pretty good schedule. We're going to Lay Lake in Alabama.
That one intrigues me. That one really intrigues me, because I feel like I don't know much about that lake.
No, I don't either. I don't know much at all. Clyde Davis, who we fish against, he's a pal. He kind of told me, you're gonna like it, Gus, and it's I like fishing for those big spotted bass. There's a few lakes in that southeast that have them, and hopefully I'll be able to do that, get on that program there.
There's a lot of lakes down south that are a very different fishing experience to us up north. I mean, I always tell the story of fishing reservoir in West Virginia, where it's like 4 feet from the bank, it's 121 feet straight down. And you're fishing treetops of 100-foot trees, and it's a very different fishing experience. So, I mean, the versatility, I think, is great of, guys like you that grew up north and are able to, do it down south, especially Florida. I mean, it seems all the Canadian guys, the Johnstons, you guys all do really well in Florida.
I'm 50-50. I've had plenty of bad ones down there too, but Florida, once you do it a few times, it's like, if you find that 100-yard stretch where they're at, because all those lakes have a lot of fish in them, like way more than, but like, you get a little cold front or a little bit of pressure, and it can be so easy some days, and then a grind. But if you can find that, a couple of those little hot stretches, and everything looks the same, so you kind of got to fish to find them. Then you can, and usually up north, we're kind of pre-programmed to fish fast. And when you go to Florida, you can a little bit, but once you find a good zone, you almost got to make yourself slow down and pick an area apart, and that's going to be your, the way to go. But yeah, it's just doing it. My very first pro tournament that I ever fished was on Lake Okeechobee in Florida, and I actually made the top. At that time, FLW had a top 20 cut for day 3, and I made the top 20 cut, and I was like, "Oh, this is an easy way to make money," But
when you get lucky once, it's always hindsight to what you're like. Oh, that was easy. Oh no, not so much easy the next time. You mentioned Sturgeon Bay. Do you have a area you prefer? You've got a lot of, I'm not saying like give me a hot spot, but I mean, is there an area that you like to fish a lot in around Sturgeon Bay? Are you lakeside, bayside, north, south?
So I've started fishing the Sturgeon Bay Open, I think around 2005, and I didn't miss it for like maybe till about 2013, and then since I've been sort of doing this stuff, I've only got to fish it a couple times in the last several years, but got a lot of time, probably, I don't know, well over 100 days fishing around there. And I've only been on the lakeside a couple times. We were never allowed to go over there for the Open, so but we did a couple days on the outside, on Lake Michigan side, fun fishing, and that was fine. But I don't know. The last few times I like fishing up north just because you're not going to be necessarily playing bumper boats as much. But man, not very often that the like biggest fish don't get caught in little sturgeon or maybe in Riley's. But if you're going there and you want to win, you probably got to find where the pack is in little sturgeon every day, and it's going to be in a different spot every day. And that's more than anywhere I've ever fished. That's where like just keeping an open mind and like playing the conditions is the deal. Yeah. And when you find that spot where you can pull down and catch one every cast in the same little hole or ditch or hard black spot, whatever it is,
nailed it.
You got to catch a bunch to get a giant bag usually, and that's
Yeah, that's always been my bread and butter area too. I spent a lot of time there, and my personal best is like just over 6 that's come out of little sturgeon. So
I actually, and I'm not like, I was going to sound like I'm a one-upper, but I got my biggest smallmouth is a 760, and it's probably been, I don't know, this was probably 2014 maybe, and it was a tagged fish, and I caught it the day before one of those NABC tournaments, and the Sturgeon Bay Open was the following weekend. Oh. And I caught it on a Friday. The following Thursday or Friday, like the day before the Open, Chris and Corey Johnson's dad, Lynn, caught the same fish because it had the tag in it. They pulled up to me and like, hey, Gus, you got a scale. Lynn caught a big one, and he pulls it out of the live one. I saw the tag on it. I'm like, dude, that's the same fish I caught, I bet.
No way.
Insane.
Of it on my phone. So yeah, look at the number. Yeah, same fish. So I actually caught it. There's a little 1-footer about a couple hundred yards into little sturgeon from the main boat ramp.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
The shore.
Yep.
It's not a secret spot.
No.
I actually caught it off that reef, and they caught it the following Friday or a week later in front of the Cedars.
Wow. So all the way across, just on the other side.
Other side of the bay, yeah.
So they just stayed in there. And I'm always curious of that, of whether they stay like it's their home base or they kind of roam in and out, because so much is bait dependent of whether they're going to chase in or out, or whether they're after smelt or shad, or they're after crawfish, or what's going on. So
yeah, no, it was So that was kind of a funny story, but yeah, it was a 760. And that's by far the biggest one I'd ever caught. We'd caught a couple others, pushing high 6s. Over the years, but it's a crazy place, man. Fun fishing.
What's the biggest bass you've caught?
10 pounds, 12 ounces. That one came out of Pickwick Lake, actually in an FLW tournament, like my second year, maybe.
I can't even fathom.
Wow.
I feel like I got to get a workout in just to lift that thing.
Yeah.
But like, I fished so many good places, lots of days at Lake Fork. Went to Mexico a bunch of times back in the day, and that's the only like honest 10-pounder I've ever caught. I've caught quite a few 9-somethings, but that's the only like over 10-pounder that I've ever caught.
All right. Well, we don't keep you too much longer here, but this is something we've actually talked about on our show. I want to ask you the question: if you've got your survival pack and there's only one bait that you can have in your survival pack, what's that one bait?
Man, it would have to be a Z-Man hula stick. So that's like a Ned rig type bait, 4-inch worm. I usually cut it down a little bit, but you can leave it whole and like by far the best spotted bass bait I've ever used. Smallmouth. I catch hundreds of walleyes on Lake of the Woods with it. Every walleye will bite it, and I've caught lots of largemouths on it too. So that's I we use a white one for ice fishing for lake trout. Just a phenomenal fish catcher for me.
All right, that's awesome. Well, we're glad you were able to join us and pop on and, share some insight and everything. And, glad we finally got to hook up and do this after a year, which is funny. As I looked at the dates, I went back. We're like doing this today on literally exactly the same date that we had scheduled last year when things fell. Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. It was like the exact same date.
Oh, that's
back-to-back
so
years.
funny.
So apparently,
how come we didn't? You remember why it didn't work out last year?
I forget. I think it was timing got messed up. Like someone flip-flopped time, and then it just wasn't going to work out. And then you had to take off somewhere. I was gone in and out doing some stuff because it was hardcore. Like we were getting into the rut of deer season, and I'm like, okay, the season's starting up, and I don't ever like to bother you guys when you've got everything going on with tournaments starting up and getting to the season. I'm always like, I kind of want to just because I know you guys got a lot of stuff to focus on, a lot of other stuff going on. So I never like to bother anybody with, taking up time during a tournament season. It's like, oh, well, we'll just wait till we get wrapped up and see how the fall works again this year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm happy to jump on with you guys anytime. That's thanks for having me. And yeah, we hopefully we can get in the boat together. I think we'd all get along pretty good and have a good time.
Definitely.
Well, we'll have to figure out when our next trip is up to your neck of the woods, and I'm sure that we'll do it again. I mean, it was like the middle to end of August this year, so it's not probably great timing for you, but
yeah, no, if you get up that way, give me a heads up. If I'm around, then I'd come and find you guys can show me your hot bass.
Take your $500 boat trip down here.
I probably I don't know whether you drive the boat or drive the vehicle. Well, either one is going to be real expensive. We'll share around Miles Bay a little bit. And
I'll make that decision on the size of the bass you send me pictures of, and but that would be cool. You guys ever been to the Classic before?
The Bassmaster Classic, no, but I'm looking to go this year. That's the intention that we're looking at doing. My wife and I were trying to figure things out of whether we can make it work, but I intend to get down to the Classic this year because I want to see the expo and do all that stuff. So
yeah, it's a spectacle. It's pretty cool, and Knoxville's fun. I was there. I didn't get to fish in the one in 2019 there, but I was there for it, and cool city, and it's gonna be a good time.
I heard lots of awesome restaurants and stuff like that. Being a food person that I am too, I'm like, oh, I'm all about that life.
Yeah, no, it's as good as anywhere I've been for that stuff, and it's gonna be a fun weekend.
All right, well, if I make it down, we'll try and hook up there or something. If you have 5-6 seconds of free time to at least say hi.
Absolutely.
While you're tying something, I'm sure. All right. Thanks, Gussy. I appreciate it. We'll chat again, I'm sure, at some point soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Yeah,
all right,
thanks, man.
There you got it. Bassmaster Elite Series angler Jeff Gustafson, a.k.a. Gussy, a.k.a. the Great Canadian Snow Leopard. Just awesome, normal, everyday, cool dude. We say Canadian nice and whatnot. That's absolutely the embodiment of Gussy, and always pulling for a guy like him. So, again, got to give thanks to our friend Randy, who kind of said, hey, you guys should get Gussy on your show. So we finally were able to make that happen. In fact, if there's anyone that you think that we should have on the show that you'd love to hear from, why don't you hit us up on our socials, @On The Tailgate. Let us know. Maybe we'll make it happen, and maybe even invite you in to join us on the conversation. Again, @On The Tailgate. I'm @The Real Ritter. @Wisco Bowhunting is Eric Tasker. And while we had a guest this week with Gussy, next week we're going to have another guest joining us on the show. In fact, a book we talked about, the Venison Wild Game Cookbook that Eric Tasker had. Miss Allie's Kitchen, the author of the book, she's going to join us talking wild game cooking and more. That's next week on Tailgate Talk right here, 97.3 The Game.